In my opinion, competition is the ultimate test of how well a rehab professional and an athlete have worked together to return back to the athlete sport. For those of you who are new here, this is Combat Athlete Physio, where we take human movement science and we bring it to the combat sports. Without a clear understanding of tissue healing, biomechanics, exercise progression, rehab professionals simply won't do their athletes justice. Conversely, if athletes aren't clear with their feedback or they're not dedicated enough to the process, they could be doing themselves an injustice. One of my clients recently won a gold medal in a jiu-jitsu tournament just 7 months after his shoulder surgery. The main points of this video is to, number one, brag a little on how well my athlete Tyler did during his rehab journey, and just how much his hard work paid off by highlighting some of the key moments in his competition footage that showed how durable his shoulder was for competition. And the second point is to show that simple rehab is effective rehab. It doesn't have to be flashy or overcomplicated to be effective. So here's the first clip of Tyler's competition footage.
Okay, so there are very few things that make physical therapists or strength coaches prouder than whenever their clients or their athletes perform well, particularly after injury in their sport or their activity or whatever they want to get back into doing. Okay, so this is, like I promised, this is Tyler, his gold medal performance at his competition exactly 7 months to the day after the date of the surgery. Okay, so we're gonna watch this all the way through, and then we're gonna break down and look at some of the ways, really just one way, that the shoulder is holding up really well. One of the signs that I could tell he's got a really strong shoulder, other than the fact that it didn't bother him during the entire thing. There was one thing that was bothering him in particular throughout the entire rehab process, and rightfully so, but it just shows that we trained it enough to the point, and he worked hard enough to the point where this really doesn't bother him anymore. So we'll see if you can find it. Just watch this nice arm drag to single leg to double leg transition. And again, Tyler's a really skilled wrestler. He's a former Division I wrestler, so it's not surprising at all to see those really good transitions, even when the guy tries to counter arm drag him. But not only does he arm drag, he was showing signs that he could do that before. So he uses the arm drag to set up that single. Okay, and the biggest part to me was whenever he was kind of extended away from his body like this. So he's not super tight to the guy. The guy is counter arm dragging him, but all of those posterior chain work that we did really allowed Tyler to kind of grab onto that single leg, even though it's far away from his body. Okay, so he's pretty much at a 90 degrees of flex position, the angle of his torso. His arm is about 90 degrees of flexion, and he's rowing, with help of the other hand, rowing that leg, and he switches to the left, grabs the body, and then uses that to grab the other hand and makes that connection, and then finishes the single, or finishes the double leg takedown. So just the fact that that leg was so far away from him to start with, and the fact that his opponent was trying to counter the arm drag, just shows the fact that this shoulder is very stable and well equipped to handle those demands of wrestling and jiu-jitsu and whatever combat sport he pursues. So,
okay, before we look into the second clip, if you find yourself always training through pain, or you need injury advice, or maybe program help for specific training goals, and you like my content thus far, I have linked a completely free needs assessment in the description. It's 15 questions, it takes about 2 to 3 minutes to complete, and it gives you instant feedback. Plus, it allows me to know that you're interested in working with me. All right, let's get back to Tyler's footage.
Okay, last one, I promise. I totally forgot that he sent me multiple videos, but this one shows even better how strong his right arm is. So he shoots in for this single leg, he gets the leg, and the guy sprawls. So he does a good job of sprawling, he gets really heavy on his head. Look how far above the head that Tyler's right arm is here. He's still got enough strength in that right arm, even with the guy sprawling on top of him, to kind of gather the leg and bring it in close. Okay, so that just goes to show that all that posterior chain work that we were doing and all that overhead movement that we were doing to make sure that he had the ability to produce force in the end ranges of those overhead movements and out of those overhead movements really paid off here. On top of Tyler's just is very gritty and he's very skilled, so he's not going to give up position, but he did it again right here. So he dropped back down, sprawled again, and was able to keep that single leg. And finished dumping over his head like that. So just another display of how the arm being away from his body is really no longer a concern of his when it comes to actually performing in a grappling environment.
So I know we just bragged about how durable Tyler's shoulder was, but there were definitely times during his rehab where we hit sticking points that required a little bit more focus. If you're interested in seeing his entire journey, the full 20-minute video is linked in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.